Well, you're right. We missed Hook of the Week on Sunday. Actually, as I do this video, it is Sunday, but I had some other things I had to take care of and didn't get a video done to post this morning. So we're just going to keep moving forward on our Andiron project and see if we can get some feet on this today, and then we'll have at least one other video to finish these. But unfortunately, sometimes I have to take a little bit of time off, work on other obligations. We've got an old Cushman Trackster, a really cool tracked vehicle that a friend offered to help me swap the engine out on and put a brand new engine in there. So I had to take advantage of his timeline. That's been a distraction and keeping me out of the shop now for the last several weeks. But yesterday we finally got the thing running, so hopefully that won't be a distraction, although I got lots of other projects that may distract me here and there. So as I've tried to point out in a few of the other videos recently, the 2-video-a-week schedule that I've had Sunday and Wednesday is not going to be as reliable as it has been, but we're going to keep doing the best we can. So if I miss a video here and there, that's just the way it is. It doesn't mean I've forgotten about you. It just means that the kitchen cabinets became a higher priority, or maybe getting the chinking in on the cabin up the hill became a higher priority, or something of that sort, because there's lots of things around here that I kind of neglect because I tend to spend too much time in the blacksmith shop. None of you have that problem, do you? For the Andiron project, we need some feet. I'm going to use some 1/2 inch by 1 1/4 inch wide material for this. So that's actually 13 by 30 millimeter, and it's 12 inches long, or about 300 millimeters long. I'm going to put a center punch mark right in the middle of that, and I've gone ahead and laid this out so I know where my center is. And that's where we're going to punch a hole, and this is going to go in there like that. Before we finish all of that, I'm going to draw this out, and we're going to make this scroll under, kind of similar to what this is, except it's going to have to scroll all the way around, so it has a little round part that sits flat on the hearth while you're using these. And I think that'll make more sense when we do it. Then we'll rivet this into there, and that's how this is going to stay together for this part. So let's get started on this. And we'll hot punch this hole. Just start by punching that hole with our center punch mark. Just like any other hole punching. You want to punch through till you're most of the way through, and you've left a nice little target mark on the back there that you can see. Line your punch up with that. Then you can come over the Pritchard hole or the Hardy hole. And that should drive a slug out. Let's see if that fits. Not quite, so I'm going to go ahead and heat this up again and just use my same punch to drift this a little bit larger. So one advantage to having tapered round or square punches is you can do some drifting. Of course, this results in a not parallel hole, so if you need parallel sides, this wouldn't be the right way to do it. But for this, that tenon should swell up and fill any irregularities. So that's plenty big enough. There may be a little adjusting later, but let's go ahead and draw out these ends so we can do our scroll. Just going to do this under the power hammer with the out, then I go to a flatter. Then I can compare the length to my previous one, and that's pretty darn close. I'll just clean this up a little bit. I mostly just want to kind of clean this up. I don't want it any longer if I can avoid that. A little variation is not going to hurt anything, but I want them close. However, it's also important to remember material at heat expands, so this is going to be longer just because it's still hot and the other piece is not. So if it's a hair long, it will probably cool and be just right. Just knocking the corners off, make sure it's pleasant to look at and pleasant to feel if somebody wants to pick it up and look at it when it's not hot in the fire. So now I turn that around. We do the exact same thing to the other side, and I will compare it to this same leg, and then when I do the other side of this, I'll compare it to this one. Hope that makes sense. Just like before, kind of clean up the rough spots. I'm leaving it flat right around the hole so that I get a good tight joint when I assemble that. If you feel the need to do any filing or grinding on something like this, go right ahead. But getting it as close as you can from the anvil is more efficient. That looks pretty darn good. I was going to go ahead and scroll this up before I put it on the feet, but it looks like the scroll might be in the way of doing the rivet on the end of the tenon. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble this first, and then we'll scroll this up. And that looks like it fits pretty darn well. Now the general rule of thumb for a rivet head is 1.5 times the diameter of the rivet. And that's for a round head rivet. If you want something more dramatic, leave more material. If you need a flush rivet, you're going to need a little bit less material. But for this, it's a 1/2 inch tenon on here, or 1/2 inch rivet. So that means we need 3/4 of an inch. Should be 1.5 times. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off there. Now to do the riveting on this, I'm going to go ahead and heat this up in the forge the first time. Subsequent heats, if we need them, we'll do with a torch. And I'm going to put a pin through here so it'll hang up on the vise jaws and won't slide as we're trying to rivet it. It doesn't fit real well on the vise because this is kind of in the way, but we'll do the best we can. I'll put the pin in there so it'll hang on the jaws. You see it's got to be crooked in here because it otherwise just doesn't fit. Let's see if it works just letting it hang from that lump. in the punched hole. You got to be careful here because it'd be easy to gouge that. But hopefully these aluminum jaw spacers will help. It's still not going to stand perfectly straight up and down, but it might be better. It's a propeller. Now remember, this bar is made up of 3 pieces, so it may split a little bit as you rivet it. Make sure it's lined up. That's your last chance to do any twisting. But that little bit of splitting isn't going to hurt anything. It's all corralled by this foot, so it can't spread. That's good and solid. Next thing we need to do is bend the scroll part. To do that, I'm just going to use a scroll jig that I already have. If you don't have one, you can certainly scroll these by hand and by eye at the anvil. But a little jig like this helps you get them all the same. I'm just going to hold this to the jig with a scrolling fork here. It's a little awkward working at 90 degrees, but if you hold it here, this puts so much leverage on it, you'll end up with a funny twist. Let's try to keep track of how far you bend this so you can bend each one the same. It'll take a little adjustment at the anvil, mostly to make sure it's all flat and in the same plane again. And we'll do the other one. Looking pretty good. Again, just bring it over and make sure that all of this is straight and in line. It's one problem with scroll jigs like that. They sometimes tend to spiral the piece so they can drop down into the jig and you've got to flatten it. Well, I'm not sure where the camera quit in that last clip. Hopefully you saw that scrolling. It's just a matter of getting everything back in line at this point. Do a little straightening cold, but if you need to, heat it back up. But that is the finished front piece for the andiron. Well, these are still a little bit too hot to hang on to with your bare hands, but this is generally what we're after, or what I'm after for this first assembly on the andirons. It will still need something that goes in the back here to set the logs on, and that'll give it a third point of contact so that it can't tip over backwards. That'll be a fairly simple piece, an upset square corner, maybe an upset foot in the back, another tenon that goes through here, and we should be able to assemble these and have them complete in the next video. Now between now and then, I'm going to do some comparisons on these. I want to make sure that these curves and these scrolls are all the same. I want to get those so they'll all look symmetrical. Get in here with a file and clean this up a little bit. There's still a little bit of rag in there. And it's all stuff you need to take some time to do, but I don't think it makes for good video because that may be an hour or 2 hours worth of stuff that you may not even be able to notice on the video, but I'll be able to notice it, and if you're holding them and looking at them in person, you'll probably be able to notice them. Now certainly this is not the only way to go about doing this. You could make the foot any shape you want to. You could do upset square corners on it. You could do some other kind of scrolls, lots of different options for a set of andirons. This is just what I saw in my head, so it's what I'm going for. I think we're going to make a lot more andirons on this channel. These are really kind of fun. You get to do some traditional work, traditional joinery. We've done some forge welding, some punched holes, mortise and tenon joints, scroll work, all sorts of different techniques in a relatively small project. My plan is that next week we will see that final piece and we will get these assembled and this andiron project will be completed, and then we'll move on to something else here at Black Bear Forge. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. Feel free to stick around, watch a few of the other videos, share the videos with your friends. If you'd like to provide financial support for the videos here at Black Bear Forge, there are links in the video description for both PayPal and Patreon. Those are merely donations. The content is free. In the meantime, I hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, but stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.